wanted to do something kind of big for our 25th anniversary. We knew that an important date, so few restaurants get past 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, forget about 25 years. So we really wanted to do something that celebrated the anniversary and kind of became a rebirth for us. So initially we talked about it and we said, well, first thing we need to do is remodel the restaurant. So we did a total remodel of stage left dining rooms and changed the way it looked, changed the aesthetic, changed the feel of it, and put some more wooden tables in. So we still have some tablecloth dining room areas, but we also have some wooden table, bar, more bar area, and just to give it a new feel, just to change things a little bit, give something bright and interesting for our customers to see. So we did that remodel first. Then on our 25th anniversary, we changed our name to Stage Left Steak.
When we opened the restaurant in 1992, we used the walls as gallery space because we didn't have any money and we couldn't afford to put anything on the walls. And we had a bunch of friends who were artists in the downtown New Brunswick scene, and we were that way for about 8 or 9 years. And then when we changed from Stage Left and American Cafe to Stage Left Restaurant, we put up marble walls and we purchased some art and we had our own artwork on the walls. And that was right for the time. But one of the things we did in moving forward at 25 years was to find our roots again. And we are not as dialed in as we were when we were, in our mid-20s. But we have Mason Gross School of the Arts, which has an undergraduate and a graduate degree, an MFA degree that they offer in fine arts right next door. And we love being in part of the community. We reached out to Mason Gross, and the dean came in and we had dinner with the dean and we said, how would you feel about your Masters of Fine Arts program curating our walls as a gallery space? And he loved the idea. And so we're studying with the Chancellor of Rutgers and the Dean of Mason Gross, and they both love the idea. And so that's what we have. So we have a rotating art coming in and out. We use the walls as gallery space. The work is for sale. We have different artists all the time. The artists are tied to the New Brunswick community. We're tied to the university. So it's exciting, and it changes all the time.
And we get to showcase the local artists, which we love that aesthetic. But even more so, what happens is, and we lost this for a time when we went to our own artwork in the restaurant that was static. We went back to, now we're a constantly evolving restaurant.
Yeah.
The restaurant's going to look a little bit different every time you come here, because as the artwork changes, as the artwork sells, or we bring in a new artist, the artwork, what you see on the walls is going to change. It's exciting. It's exciting for us. It's exciting for the employees, and I think it's exciting for the diners.
And the artists.
And the artists. So Catherine Lombardi, the idea for Catherine Lombardi actually came about first when we were opening Stage Left. So Francis and I, as we've said, I've never been as poor as I was when I opened Stage Left Restaurant. So what we did in order to fit out the restaurant is we would go to auctions of restaurants that had closed and buy used chairs and tables and forks and knives and ovens and everything that you would buy from a restaurant that had failed. And we brought them into the restaurant, and that's what our restaurant was built out of, all these pieces from other restaurants. Well, a lot of those restaurant auctions happen in New York City, but some of them would happen in Brooklyn. Well, if they happened in Brooklyn, one of the things that I would tell Francis is, if we're in Brooklyn, my grandmother will smell me, and if we don't show up at her house, I'll be in big trouble. So we would stop in at my grandmother's house, and no matter when we stopped in, she would be cooking something, because that's how it worked in our family. We would go to Grandma's house on Sunday afternoons, and she began cooking on Tuesday, and some part of the meal was being executed by her every day until she got to Sunday, and then she'd tie it all together and serve 20, 30, 40 people Sunday dinner every week, for basically 40 Sundays a year. So that was kind of how it evolved, and one of the things Francis said at that time to me was, we have to do a restaurant based on this food. And what I said was, why would anybody go to a restaurant to have this food? You get it every Sunday at your grandmother's house.
Not my Irish grandmother's house.
So, and that was what he said. And anyway, we put it away. We opened Stage Left, and we continued on with Stage Left for about 10 years. And after about 10 years, the opportunity to be right upstairs from stage left came about, and we had our natural concept right away. We named it after my grandmother. The pictures around the room are of my family and of my grandmother, and it's to me it's a real treasure. I love walking into that room. One of my absolute favorite times to walk in that room is in the afternoon. They'll be sautéing garlic or frying up the eggplant, and or doing something with the basil or the marinara, and I'll walk up the stairs and I can smell my grandmother's house, and that to me is just one of those things that is the most rewarding in the restaurant to me, that I'm sharing, because my grandmother's house was open on Sunday afternoon. You walked into her house, you were welcome. It didn't matter if you were a neighbor, an old friend, somebody, who they had just met. You were welcome on Sunday at the dinner table. And I love that I get to honor her by having a restaurant that does just
that. There are challenges, but there are great benefits as well. And I'll always remember in 2008, 2009, 10, 11, and when a lot of restaurants around here were closing, and it was tough. It was tough even for us.
Sure.
But there were people who would come into dinner, and what we saw in our reservation book, even on the nights when nobody was going out to dinner, because I'd walk around New Brunswick and see that everybody else was empty too, we would have maybe 40 reservations on a night, where in the busier times we'd have had 80. But those reservations would be birthday, anniversary. So people still came to us on their special occasions. You've come to me for 12 birthdays. You're not going to not come to me for the 13th, no matter how hard it is. And people would come in and say, hey, I want you to know that we're here because we're not going out to dinner as much as we used to, but we definitely want to come and support you, because when this is all over, we still want you to be here. I mean, people actually said that to us and would come once a week, even if they didn't want to, I think. Just to support us, and that's pretty amazing. It's two-way street, this community thing.
So what Francis is alluding to is, and I think has been kind of a central meaning to this restaurant since we started, is relationships. And so some of those relationships are with the customer, with the person at the table. Some of those relationships are with our staff or our former staff. Some of those relationships are with our purveyors. There's a saying that I like to say: you can generally judge a restaurant by watching its deliveries, okay? And the quality of a restaurant, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna get a little statisticsy here. The quality of a restaurant is inversely proportional to the number of tires on the trucks that deliver to it, okay? You see an 18-wheeler delivering food to your restaurant, it's probably not gonna be a great restaurant. You see a guy in an unmarked Subaru bringing herbs into a restaurant, it's probably going to be the kind of restaurant that I want to go to. And those types of relationships only happen over time and with trust, and that's something that we've believed in since we started. And it started with our relationship and our trust with each other, and it's just expanded to the people who come here over all these years.
I'm enjoying this journey. I feel like we have a place here in New Brunswick. We've been doing great stuff. I'm open to seeing what our young chefs bring us. I'm open to seeing to what happens in the world. I think that the consumers, the guests, are more educated than ever. I don't need to. I remember when we started making craft cocktails and we'd use egg whites in a drink, and we was like, oh my God, that's disgusting. You're gonna put a raw egg in my drink? And we had to really push to make that, to get people to accept that and to try it. And that's not the case anymore. So I don't know, I'm swimming in the middle of the pool, man. So I'm gonna do this as long as I can do it. I'm gonna love it every day when I come to work. We're bringing in new people all the time, and it's just an ongoing adventure. I don't think I have a 5-year plan anymore. We're living our lives, and it's great.
I also think what Francis is saying is, we never dreamed that this is where we would be 25 years ago. We never dreamed of it. So we're a little bit in the current, and that's okay. We're enjoying being in the current. We've put ourselves in the place where we wanted to be at this point, and now we're in the current, and we'll turn when the river turns,
yeah.
And we'll go in that direction when the river turns, and when the next challenge in our lives comes up. But I don't dare to not that I'm not planning for my future, but I don't dare to tell you what this restaurant will be or these restaurants will be 25 years from now. What I'll tell you is that I'm going to enjoy that journey, and I'm going to make sure that the people who come here enjoy that journey with us.